if you've been spiritually open for a good amount of time and you still can't decipher and discern between your intuition and anxiety, let's talk about that today. And I will try to give you some situations that allow you to be able to discern the difference between the two. So, one, everyone is intuitive. So if you've been trying to like reach or learn to be intuitive, like you've probably already been doing it without realizing it. And then if you're somebody that feels a lot more versed in it, but feel like you can't trust your intuition because it misguided you, you have a few questions to go ask yourself to find out, like, was it really your intuition? And then could be part of it was your intuition, and then it got a little bit under the guise of the ego. So let's talk about that. So for one, start off with intuition is something that is usually an initial feeling, thought, sometimes word if you're auditory and senses, and you might hear it in your head, a voice, or just like a word pops up, or a feeling of yes, or a feeling of like, I don't know, I just wanted to pick that, or you're directed towards something. Intuition is usually short and sweet, okay? There's not a story attached to it. Now, if you are working with someone like me and you have me doing like a year ahead forecast, sometimes that's coming with a story, but you also have to understand, and a great example is there's this TV show on Amazon Prime and it's called like Miss Maisel, and she's a comedian. Bear with me, there's a point. So the mom of Maisel, or her name is actually not Miriam, I think. But anyway, we're just gonna call her Maisel for the sake of the story. Maisel's mom goes to a fortune teller, this is like way back in like the 60s or whatever, maybe 70s, I don't know. There's like a tarot sign on the door, and she reads like tea leaves. Well, eventually the mom goes back a few different times, and the daughter is like going through a divorce and then gets divorced, and then eventually is like dating this guy, and her mom just wants her to be married and wants her to not have a job and all this stuff. So she goes to the fortune teller, and then the fortune teller's like, oh, I see a stage. I don't know, I'm seeing kind of like a dark colored dress. The mom is like, well, it's her second marriage. Of course it's not a white dress. Oh, a stage. She's at the altar. The woman's not saying this shit at all. She basically was letting her know that she's going to do a comedic performance. She never says any of that. But the mom only hears what she wants to hear. So meaning that you could work with somebody like me. I'm telling you different energetic forecasts that's coming in emotionally for you. And then you hear, damn, she said my business is going to take off. This is amazing. I'm going to get like 10 fucking clients next week. I knew it. And then it doesn't happen. You're not necessarily mad at me, but you can get mad at spirituality and say that, but the universe said. No, sometimes what the universe is saying is not what you're hearing. So another example to that is like in the practical, we want to hear what we want to hear, and we have a state of biasness towards it. Again, intuition is very short and sweet. It's not always an upward climb, because sometimes it'll tell you no to something that you want, okay? So many moons ago, like 2012, me and my husband was in marital counseling at the VA. And I remember like sitting with Dr. Marsh, and then he'd be like, Danielle, I'd have the floor and I would talk. And then he'd be like, Nathan, what did you hear her say? And then he'd go blah, 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 blah. And he'd be like, that's not what she said. Like, what? No. So we do that with intuition and ego. And that's the point to that, is we can be under the guise of the ego, and the whole time we think we're like spiritually euphoric and so in alignment. Like, you have no idea. Yeah, we get real caught up in loops real easily because we forget that we're human. With the human experience comes this thing, and what this thing comes biasness, perception, attachment, desire, want, lack of accountability, lack of self-awareness. Oh, but you don't understand. I'm very self-aware. Yeah, I thought the same thing, Susan. I thought the same thing. And I was wrong. I was wrong even after teaching all this work. I didn't realize like how egotistical you still can be, because it's not just about arrogance. Like, you genuinely can brainwash yourself into making decisions that are not best for you. So, to wrap this up in a bow, when you can't force intuition, intuition is just a part of your human existence. It's not outside of you. It's not inside of you. It just is you. And so when you allow it to be just there, just like you can smell a smell, and you can have different perspectives to that smell, right? Like, somebody can think something smells good, and then you're like, oh, that's gross. Well, intuition's the same way, to where somebody's interpretation of the feeling, thought, sound, however their senses are in the called the psychic way, the way that it's interpreted is subjective. That's where subjectivity comes in. I learned this through an acquaintance of mine who was able to see like spirit guides and all this stuff. So initially I thought her gifts were like so much better than mine because I'm just clairsentient and claircognizant. I'm clear knowing and clear sensing. Like sensing, feeling. And I just sometimes just know and feel things wherever it comes from. And so I used to justify her beliefs over mine, and then I realized like there would be durations of time in which we haven't spoken, and she only still knew the past story that I told her about like where I was, but I tend to move out of situations rapidly. That's when I realized we channel through our own cognitive translation, and then we will attach it to what we think it means, even though literally like the word could be perspective or something. Like this is a bad example, but like you'll have something like that comes up, and then all of a sudden are like, I don't know, you have the ever unfolding rose pops up. Okay, this is from Monday's video, and then you're like, I knew it, my group program is gonna go. And it's like, no, like you're just being more and more honest with yourself that you were acting like a fucking wuss puss. What? Like the universe is like, what? We didn't say anything about your like. So that's the thing is, you feel the feeling, then you go and attach it to something instead of like, what was the original feeling that you felt towards like a yes or a no, or pick that or turn left. That sometimes that's all that was. It's just that. And then we're like, let's go add 14 more minutes to that story because it's going to sound really good. We want to make it favorable for ourselves because it's going to be a golden meadow, because we have golden platters, because obviously that's how life works. And if you tell me anything else, nope. Can't hear you. And then I'm going to get super cynical at you and tell you that the universe has lied to me. When you're having a human experience, and sometimes what that is you could be like in my life in 2017, I did my spiritual gifts literally like plop down in front of me. Long story. I have that posted somewhere. If anybody ever wants to hear that or wants to know, just message me. I'll tell you all about it. And it gave me witnesses and all this stuff to debunk any aspect of it, of like, yeah, no, you're definitely gifted. And so it's like, okay. And then I had no self-confidence going into it. So then I had this period of time in which I rapidly grew online. Rapidly grew. Really fast, financially and everything. Like everything went really well. And it was like, holy shit. Well, then my brain's like, this is forever. And then I'm having human experiences because I'm having like babies and stuff and postpartum depression and building a house and all these things because, I mean, there's no human stressors involved in that. In which there was, and I didn't account for any of that. I didn't account for the death of my dad and my brother-in-law and all these other things that happened because we're linear on the path. So what I've realized then, I wasn't on the wrong path. The universe gave me like a little teaser, like a little appetizer. You were insecure. You had lack of self-esteem. You had lack of belief. So that you need to move into a leadership role. Like we showed you what's possible, but you need to move into a leadership role. You can't always do things happenstance. You need some structure. Also, by the way, yes, your soul mission and stuff for you does come easy for you. So which means that you're going to have to work extra hard with the kids and your husband, the family aspect. My brain took it every time I was like, oh, you have a soul mission. It's going to come first for you. Yeah, I mean, and it comes fucking easy. It's not really hard for me. But familying is hard for me because I'd rather go like isolate myself like a freaking hermit in the office. So that's what I'm trying to get you to see is for years I would be like, oh, yeah, no. And I'd be telling that to my husband years ago. I'd be like, yeah, but you're the one that the family is your focus. That's not mine. That's not mine. That's called biasness, and that's called bypassing. Okay, so that was not intuition. That was not intuition. That was my ego. It was my ego. Okay, and then you realize when you get to look back and you glance and you get the perspective to look back on everything. You go, oh no shit. Okay, thank you, universe. You didn't betray me. I betrayed myself. You even want to call it that. And I was romanticizing my life. I was bypassing the human experience even then, even though I said that I knew that we don't bypass the human experience and we feel all these feelings, but I realized I was only wanting to feel the magical feelings. I was only willing to admit that the world was majestic and magical, but it's also a shit show at times. Like, people are still going to die in your life. People are going to get sick. You might get sick. Natural disasters happen, political events happen. Those are all things that's going to happen around you that you have no control over. but you get to coexist in it. And it doesn't mean something has happened to you. It just means what it is. And so you get the choice to choose how you feel inside of it. So you are a magical, majestic being. Yes, you are. And yes, you have intuition, but you also are having a human experience. And so the idea is not to just go through your life completely trying to rely on the intuition and not your human experience. It's to use them hand in hand, just like we sniff, just like we touch, just like we look and taste and all the other senses. It's just another sense that just aids in your human experience to really feel in this human experience.